Okay, welcome to another episode of Shittywebcomics Weekly, or just a full review. It depends. Because what we're going to start doing, and what we've actually been doing already, is we record reviews, and we have several reviews on our Subscribe Star right now, the full things, which we just take the first 10 minutes, chop that out, and upload it as a Shitty Webcomics Weekly, as sort of like a preview, but also a little a bonus, a free video. It's just a way to try and tease our fucking Subscribe Star, so that people check out so that people check out all the extra videos, because there's a bunch of comic reviews on our Subscribe Star and a bunch of more in depth, that deep dives or derp dives even. But this might be our last book review for a long time. We wanted to go back to, some web comics and other goofy things like that. But this one was sent to me by a person who had it, and this is the comic by the people who are doing this Spencer's Gift scam. They basically scammed. They were part of Comicsgate. Some people who are part of Comicsgate and Comicsgate supporters who scammed other people in Comicsgate, saying, "Hey, we will, send us your printed copies of your comic. You need so many, but send them to us, and we'll get them shipped and fulfilled. They'll be put into store shelves at Spencer's Gift," which Spencer's Gifts is, it's in most malls in America, and Vicky did a pretty good video and a breakdown about the scam regarding the people who did the scam, essentially, and they were trying to act like they were going to have a new fulfillment company. And they started this last year. I thought it would
Once
be
again,
older than
also
this.
taking our ideas and ruining them.
Well,
It's the perfect example.
not just our ideas, of course. I mean, because that's what all of
I
Comicsgate
mean,
did,
yeah, I
was take
didn't
our
invent
ideas.
the idea, but we are the ones who were trying to push this. It's like you gained $150,000. You have enough money to start your own publishing company, and you can't make comics because you suck at it. Go publish other more talented people's comics.
Yeah,
And
print
now
and
that
fulfill.
idea has been ruined by grifters again.
This needs to be pointed out. When we said this to people in Comicsgate, that was 2018. This comic and the whole scam was done in 2021. It was just last year. The thing is, so this was also being done after Tim and Mark showed that they could do it. See, Tim and Mark took our idea and actually made it work. In fact, they showed you didn't even need $100,000 or $200,000 or $1 million to have a fulfillment company. All you have to do is just pay a couple of guys to just take your books and put them into boxes and slap shipping labels on them, and take them to the fucking post office, and that's it. That's the important thing. And that's what Comicsgate couldn't do. But that's sort of what this was ultimately, the scam. But the people who made this book, the people who made the scam, who made this fake fulfillment company that ended up not even existing, they took the money and ran. They also took money for a comic called Lore, and I had no clue this existed. I had heard about the fucking company, which actually one of the last pages is an ad for the company. It's called like Liberty or something, which again, very much ripping off of us when we, the whole Comic Liberty thing. So it seems every
Comic
single
Liberty,
step of the
which
way.
predates Comicsgate,
Yeah,
by the way.
every step of the way, Comicsgate is taking something we thought of first years earlier and then making a retarded version of it. But
Basically, trying to steal credit for something
yeah,
that we came up with,
yeah,
and then having no principles,
yeah, and ruining it and turning it into a shitty version.
erasing the principle of the thing, and then just using it as a way to bilk customers, as they've been doing with crowdfunding in general.
Yeah, all of their crowdfunding is pretty much one scammer after another, or just disappointing comics one after the other. But it's also very, just as much as is worth pointing that out, it's also worth pointing out that the actual principles of comic liberty and our ideas of being like, hey, you should do your own fulfillment in some way. Those things are done correctly by our friends like Tim Lim and Mark Pellegrini. and that kind of stuff. Iconic Comics represents our actual ideas put correctly into practice and being successful, showing that they would be successful just as we figured they
It's
would.
not like anybody needs our permission to go and do that either.
No,
It's not like I'm saying, "Oh, they took our idea or something." It's just
exactly.
they fucking realized that's how it works. That's the best way to do things. They didn't have to get it from us.
Yeah, we simply voiced the idea and the suggestion and said, here's something that people can do. It's up to them to do it if they want to. And
This is
Tim
the
and Mark
smart
showed that they
idea.
did.
This would work best.
Yeah. And again, like the way that we point out that Comicsgate took the ideas, made them shitty, it's not worth it unless we also point out that other people fucking, went with those ideas, the things that we espoused, and actually did make them work. So you can't just say, anyone, would try to and be incorrect anyone would be incorrect in saying that our ideas don't work when tried, because our ideas have been shown to work and been shown to be correct. But of course, some of them are just ideas, some of them are just like philosophies, that kind of thing. But
We are We are the modern day Aristotle,
yeah, pretty much, I guess, something like that.
Plato,
Socrates.
Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, morons.
Yes, you're right. Anyways, all of this, and we bring this up because it's the grander context, the global big, it's the forest, whereas everyone else is just looking at a fucking
The
tree.
strategic view. We're on the strategic map.
Yes, we're on the galaxy map. We're looking at the galaxy map of everything, while everyone is just looking at one blinky light and going, "Where is this blinky light?" So that's why we point out this other stuff all connected. But and this was another example. Now this comic is an example of something made by people who. This comic is not something that we espoused any idea about. We did, although it is interesting that we talked about, like, going back to the Kill Everything days. We showed that we wanted to do comics that sometimes had like some fucking spicy stuff in it, and we'll get into why it doesn't work in this, whereas it does work in our comics or other examples of other comics or manga. Manga's another perfect example and a comparison, and a perfect reason why people are reading manga and not Comicsgate Comics. And Comicsgate Comics is just a tiny corner of a tiny corner of a tiny corner of the American industry. People are already not reading American comics.
Comicsgate is self-sequestering.
Yes, it's
self-segregating. It's like themselves.
Yes.
It's like gatekeeping 99% of the universe.
Well, they actually admitted that too. Like when I was on stream with Ethan Van Sciver, he openly said he didn't want to appeal to certain types of comic readers. And I'm like, you should be, because those people vastly outnumber anyone who would be interested in your comics. And I was, again, proven completely objectively right by history when Tim and Mark's comics ended up being successful with that style that I was recommending, which was manga. I was talking about the manga audience is gigantic, and you should find some way to at least appeal to them. Well, and Ethan said he didn't want to.
You can actually do that, though. You can appeal to a niche audience.
And we said,
but then don't tell people that you're not appealing to a niche audience, that you're fucking trying to get the biggest audience that you can, that you're going to own the libs, trigger the libs, you're going to fucking save comics, you're going to fucking make a safe place, a safe space, if you will, for the easily triggered, who is this easily triggered SJW Snowflake now?
Yes.
It's the right. Don't say you're going to do all that stuff.
Not even so much the right, but specifically these pockets of the right that are disingenuous and not really even real right-wingers.
I mean, he's not right-wing. He's not a conservative at all. He's straight up just a shitlib. He's not even a never-Trumper. He's just a leftist.
He was a never-Trumper originally, but the same way that any ordinary leftist or SJW was. But that was the thing, is that I even explained specifically how you don't have to draw anime or things that look like anime. You don't have to ape the visual style of anime to still appeal to manga fans. We've been saying specifically how to do that.
Yeah, the goal isn't even to necessarily ape the style. It's to make something that is the best thing you can make.
But also,
he clearly isn't doing that. He's making the laziest shit he can shit out. He's not even doing it in a timely manner.
There's a giant list of things that manga does that anyone else could also do. And we've gone over all of those things and we explained them. And the thing is that in response, Ethan Van Sciver became angry and confused. He actually said out loud in that fucking stream that he was confused and didn't understand what I was talking about.
He was so bothered by it, he had to immediately go and suck a stranger's cock.
Well, he was going to do that anyways, of course.
It's like he immediately shit blood, and then when he found out what you said, he was very displeased.
He was very upset. So anyways,
somebody... What was it, fucking homo fart or something? It's like older gay men have to wear diapers. And it's like fucking...
Oh, yeah, it's like long before they become old men.
It's old age either.
Yeah. Anyways, it wasn't just Ethan who was angry and confused when I brought that stuff up back then, by the way. And it was a lot of other people, but also at the same time, a lot of those people now are parroting us word for word exactly what we said about manga. When we pointed out, here's manga sales, here they're this much bigger. There are sales figures out there very easily visible by any idiot who can just Google something.
Even fuck the sales figures. I mean, what do you see that you like? Well, take a look at it. Do you like it? You can instinctually just tell from looking at Ethan's art that it's not good. It's ugly. It's bad to look at. It's not pleasant to the eye.
There's a lot of objectively wonky anatomical flaws in that kind of thing. Like if you redlined it, it would be a fucking disaster.
It's going so far beneath all of that. I can excuse these things, maybe not from a fucking industry veteran and former comics pro who was taught to draw in the fucking house style of the big two. Maybe that's less excusable. But even then, from a novice, I can fucking forgive it.
Yeah. Yeah, in fact,
if they're trying to make something that looks good.
That's one thing that when we review this comic, which I guess you may have to just go on the Subscribestar to even find the part where we start talking about this. But that's all of our reviews, is we always go into the deepest context that most people aren't prepared or capable of comprehending.
Layers, fucking peeling back the furthest layers of the fucking the onion.
If you've ever had the response to one of our reviews saying that we didn't review the comic, that means we went way over your head and you weren't even close to being capable of comprehending what we were saying. We even went over Ethan Van Sciver's head directly, right to him in front of his face, and he was just utterly confused about things that we said that he himself then later parroted.
We went over his head playing Limbo.
Yes. Anyway, so I got sent this porn comic. It turns out Lore is essentially like a porn comic, but we'll go into the pitch of that. So, once it was sent to me, I was like, I guess we have to review it. And we're going to do the thing where we fucking just front load the clip, the intro clip. If you really want to see the whole thing, you'll have to see it on the Subscribestar eventually, but the first 10 minutes, I don't know how long this is. We're just gonna go as long as we have to, because again, our videos have always been long form, and they've always been more in depth than anyone else's reviews. I wish I could say that that's just bragging or supposition or anything, but I have watched everyone else's reviews, and they're so slight, and there's no depth to them. Even there's a weird epidemic of people who review comics who basically They do the GameSpot reviewing Xenosaga thing, which or Xenogears even, which nobody understands what that means. Not even gamers understand what that means because it goes over their head. They're not smart enough. But it's that thing where the reviewer will basically describe the worst thing you've ever heard in your entire life and then give it an 8 out of 10. And they'll describe like every flaw. They'll be like, this part sucks, this part's stupid, this doesn't make sense, this is never explained, this part's really boring, that. And then 8 out of 10, it was really fun. Without, and it's like, you just described something that is not fun on an objective scale, though. And that's everyone else's reviews of comics is they'll say, oh, this new Richard C. Meyer comic, it's pretty cool, I guess. And then they'll describe it in detail. And what they describe as they go over the parts that they actually read is this part doesn't make sense. They do this, and it's really confusing. There's no reason for it. And it's just like, okay, you described a comic that sucks. So that's everyone else's reviews of comics. Or even just they're talking about comics. Whereas ours are fucking so much more in depth. Every single video we do is essentially a deep dive into like many years of context all combined simultaneously. So, if you're smart enough to comprehend that, I invite you to check out our Subscribe Star. Otherwise, you should just give us money just because you're so inferior to us. Possibly with inferior DNA.
Inferior DNA.
And you say, it's not my fault I have inferior DNA.
But in this case, it is their fault.
It is their fault, yeah. You can check out the rest of this video on our Subscribe Star, linked below.